Okay? Let's imagine, are you all familiar with the Ache? Okay. Well, let's just imagine some toy hunters in some hunter-gatherer society. One of them, there's two of them. One of them is named Mr. Red and the other one's named Mr. Blue. Okay? And in this scenario, Mr. Red and Mr. Blue have equal hunting skill. They have equal opportunities outside the hunting group. They could join an equal amount of equally awesome hunting groups. And they're equivalent in every single way possible, except for their names, Mr. Red and Mr. Blue. So if they cooperated with one another, they could kill, say, 4 peccary. Okay? They're of equal skill. They're equal in every respect. How should they split these 4 peccary?
It seems to be enough.
What's that?
Seems it should be enough if they're equal in every respect.
But who should get what? How many peccary should Mr. Red get? 2. Yeah. Should get 2. But what if Mr. Red is 3 times the man Mr. Blue is? What should he get? And what should the split be then? 3 to 1. Yeah. It's not fair anymore, for there to be an equal split. And when you guys read the cooperation literature, you'll often see that people equate cooperation with equality and fairness and pro-sociality. And I just think it's bullcrap. What is fair is not necessarily what's equal, and what is equal is not necessarily what's fair, and what's fair is not necessarily entailed in cooperation. So, let's imagine another scenario where Huey, Dewey, and Louie, who we all recognize from Duct Tape, they each have equal payoffs in a temporary impasse that they suffer through while they're trying to bargain over what everybody gets, okay, out of the cooperative surplus. I'm sorry, out of the cooperative benefits. So everybody, Huey, has to get at least this, okay? So this is if Huey gets everything. This is if he gets nothing. Huey has to get at least this in order for the cooperation to make any sense. And the same for everybody else. That means that people are actually bargaining over this much smaller set of partitions. Okay? And where this set is located in this little triangle diagram depends on people's impasse paths. So what if Louie is 3 times the man as Huey and Dewey? Or not really. What if Louie just requires 3 times the impasse payoff as either Dewey or Louie? Okay? Or he obtains that payoff in the time leading up to a bargaining agreement. Well then, he's going to get the lion's share because the surplus that everybody's going to be splitting, right, is kind of small. So the payoff is determined mainly by impasse payoffs, or the split is determined mainly by impasse payoffs. But there's another situation. What if people's impasse payoffs are quite small? Then the bargaining set is quite large. And that means that we have much less information. Oops, oh, come on. There we go. We have much less information about what the split in the end is going to be, and we need other variables to explain what's going to happen. We need to assess factors that influence people's bargaining power, that advantage that they have when they're haggling with other people. Things like resource holding potential, so like your physical prowess. I might beat people out of their fair share, right? Or I might trick people with magic out of their fair share. Economists have found that time preferences, the rate at which you discount future payoffs, influences your bargaining power negatively because, okay, the longer this bargaining process goes on, the less it's worth to me. So I want it to end now, and that means that you're going to be accepting a lower share than somebody who doesn't have discount time as much. Prior commitments can also affect bargaining power. Alternative group membership can affect your bargaining power because it's an outside opportunity. It's what you get, right? And if a threat is credible, then you have to get at least what you get in some outside group in the bargaining agreement. Okay? And I won't talk about that. Where would bargaining theory be? What would be a great application of bargaining theory in remittance research? Well, of course, it's going to be my field project in my dissertation. So what I'm going to do in my dissertation is I'm going to look at how remittances, once they're received by a household, how are they distributed among the members of that household? Okay? And how does that depend on what the remittances actually do? Okay? And what types of remittances they are? Okay? And actually, I will talk about this. I've estimated that kinship should increase the effective bargaining power. Okay, so if I'm the stronger individual, I'm even stronger if I'm cooperating with a weaker individual who's related to me. And if I'm weak, then I'm even weaker if I'm cooperating with my stronger brother than if I'm cooperating with some other stronger dude that I don't care about. That's the basic premise. Okay, so the next thing is we got to figure out how people are going to allocate their cooperative investments, given that they have many people in which they could invest. So some work has been done on that. This applies to your question, correct? So Sam Bowles, I think her name is Dorrit Pozell. She's a researcher at KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. I don't know where KwaZulu-Natal, oh, there it is. In the university somewhere in that vicinity. Anyways, what they did is they derived, like what we wanted to do, an inclusive fitness model. How much, so they took 9,000 rural South African households and they said, how much should people remit, so migrants, and these are all male migrants, how much should they remit based on the relatedness to each person in the household weighted by their expected reproductive value, which was admittedly obtained from totally different data. They did this, and they showed that while it was the best predictor out of all the predictions that they had, it only explained a third of the variance, which isn't that much. So people apparently aren't perfect fitness maximizers, which we would expect because people screw up, and we're a social species. But this is one population. How does the combined effect of relatedness and reproductive value vary across populations? Does it vary just because of differences in the importance of remittances, or because differences in the environment? Does it vary because of shared history, shared culture history? I don't know, and that's what I'm going to be looking at in my dissertation, the data component, the data mining component. And it's interesting because this South African study comes from the LSMS. So the data the big data that I'm looking at, this is a subset of that data. So I'll be looking at not 85, 60, over 60 household surveys. So there's some other issues that I'm talking about in my thesis that I'm not going to talk about at length here. And those are that, so people don't have complete information about other people's preferences, or even about their own preferences. But in the remittance economy, information definitely has value, because you want to know what's going on with your money, right? Or you want to know what's going on, when's the money coming in, buddy? But it also has a cost, right? If I call my brother on the cell phone when he's in Iraq, it costs money, right? And these costs vary across the remittance corridors. And I would imagine the costs are modified by kinship. I would be more willing to, spend $200 excess of my cell phone bill talking to my brother for an hour, because I want to know how he's doing. Okay. Another issue is what effects do transaction costs have on social interactions in remittance networks? These, of course, vary across remittance corridors. So the amount of money it takes to send something varies. It is also modified by kinship, and it's often ignored in standard game theory models, just for the sake of simplicity. So that brings me to the end of my talk. I'd like to thank the IGRIT Program in Evolutionary Modeling for funding me when I started this research, the Center for Studies in Demography and Ecology for funding me now, and you guys for letting me talk about it. And I'd also like to thank my wife, Elise, and my daughter, Alice, for enduring me. So we can open up for questions and discussion. I can turn the lights on too. Or we could all just go home. That's fine too. But I'd like to discuss things if you feel the need, and because I like to do that.